The title of my project is A Spatial Analysis of Ritual Objects at Pueblo Bonito in Chaco Canyon. So Chaco Canyon is a large archaeological site in northern New Mexico that was inhabited from about 900 to 1150 CE. The site that I've chosen to look at here is Pueblo Bonito, which is the largest structure in Chaco Canyon. I chose this one because it has an extremely high volume of ritual artifacts within the canyon, as well as compared to other parts of the Southwest. This topic has a really strong connection to my dissertation topic, which will look at ritual deposits throughout the Southwest. And through this project, it will allow me to further understand the spatial distribution of those objects. And I should hopefully be able to take this project and then apply it to future work as well. Many projects are related to this topic, such as the ones listed below, but I really have yet to see a study based purely in GIS using spatial analysis to look at this distribution. But this is really to my knowledge and what I've seen of research so far. This is the raster image I chose to use as a reference for room numbers and locations for my project. This is really an overall good map of Pueblo Bonito. It's very detailed and it shows, all of the locations, sizes, shapes, etc. The methods that I chose to use here are georeferencing, digitization, and spatial analysis. I use the open source program to access the geographic data that's necessary for me to place the map in a real world coordinate system. I then digitized the map, creating vector data where I made lines to represent the walls and polygons to represent the rooms. Lastly, I looked for spatial patterns within my data to get at the distribution patterns of the artifacts themselves, which allowed me to then make my interpretations from my results. My results did successfully find patterns within the spatial distribution of these objects. This is just kind of an initial overview, and I'm about to go into more detail about this. As you can see, I decided to look at each of the construction phases separately to identify possible temporal trends. So here, the first of the 4 phases shows very high artifact concentration within a couple of areas. This cluster here does appear to have a really, really high concentration of ritual artifacts. However, this really doesn't surprise me because these rooms right here are known to be an elite burial crypt with a really, really high amount of objects, including ritual objects. And then we do also have a cluster over here, also of really high volume of artifacts. The second phase has an overall very low density of ritual artifacts, which greatly contrasts with the first phase that I just showed you. So as you can see from the legend here, every room that I analyzed within this construction phase has about 0 to 50 artifacts, which is very, very different from what we just looked at from phase 1. Here, I chose to combine phases 3 and 4 because there wouldn't have been very much visual information if they were separated into 2 maps. Once again, there's a fairly low artifact concentration throughout here. However, these 3 structures do stand out as having a bit higher of a volume than the other rooms in these phases. However, again, this doesn't really surprise me because these 3 structures have been classified as ceremonial structures. So there would already be a higher volume of ritual artifacts here because they would have been used in the ceremonies that were conducted in these spaces. Overall, the largest trend within this data seems to be the concentration of ritual objects in the oldest part of the site, which is going to be that first phase of construction in red right here. This could really suggest the possibility of a social or ideological importance of the site's history or past lineages, as seen by this high concentration of items within the elite burial crypt, as well as the concentration of items back here. When you look at it compared to the other portions of the site that I included in this project, there really is a really big difference between them. And one of the only things that archaeologists can kind of interpret this as is that there was some kind of importance to the site's history that would lead to the concentration of artifacts more in this first phase of construction than the following phases. And I did just want to hit on the possibility for error with this project. I think there's 100% a possibility and presence of error within my data set. The first is the presence of error involving temporal accuracy and data completeness. This data was collected in the early 1900s, and a lot more accurate and modern excavations have been completed since then. And this data is not at all up to date, and the current known data is not present within this, just based off of the sources that I was able to go off of. There's also a duplication of the room number 14. This appears twice on my map, but only once in my data source, which again could skew my results. And lastly, there's a large possibility to the lack of attribute accuracy data. My personal interpretations of what artifacts can be considered related to ritual is likely not how the original users would classify them. And it's also not how a lot of archaeologists classify them. There's a lot of difference of opinion within this topic. And so this is truly my own personal opinion when it comes to this. So here, just a few acknowledgements in my data sources and my instructors for this course that helped me and kind of guided me through this project and the process of it. And lastly, I do have some contact information here, so you know where to find me. And then here's my email address and my phone number in case anyone ever wanted to reach out. Thank you.